Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this September 12th at 7 p.m. for the monthly meeting of the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association. My name is Margaret Farmer, and I am the co-chair. Rachel?
I'm Rachel Bloomerth, and I am the other co-chair. Susan?
I'm Susan Huang. I'm the vice chair. Mary?
I'm Mary Cole, and I'm the outgoing secretary.
Josh?
Hey, I'm Josh Fed, and I'm the incoming secretary.
Andrew Pike, who is our treasurer, is unfortunately unable to be here with us this evening. Just a reminder, and I apologize, this is the third, but it is also the last time that you'll hear this announcement that this meeting is being recorded. You should have received a notification when the recording started. This recording is available publicly on jeffreyspoint.org. It is hosted on YouTube, so it can be found publicly. Because of that, you are not required to be visible on the screen. You do not have to turn on your camera. If you wish to change your name as it appears on the screen, you are also welcome to do that. Although we ask you to keep in mind your neighbors will see what you choose. And you are welcome to submit things through the chat if you do not wish to be seen or heard. But however, now that we've made that announcement, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening. We are aware that there are many things that are going on in your lives, and we appreciate your focus and attention on our community. We are going to start off with announcements this evening as I switch over to my other page. A reminder that the East Boston Ferry is now running downtown Monday through Friday from starting at 7 a.m. With the first at Lewis Mall, and starts with the first departure from Long Wharf starting at 7:15 a.m. The ferry will be running all day, back and forth for 30 minutes, with the last trip being at 7:30 p.m. A reminder, there has been some questions in the community about how to access the ferry. You need to show a pass that shows the date. So you can't do the tap in option. If you have your Charlie card that you tap in, they don't have the ability to read that. But if you have a zone 1 pass or a pass that shows that a monthly pass that shows the month, then you certainly can use those as well. They are working to install tap in options. And we are certainly hoping that they will do that. The ferry is running. I apologize. I did not write down how long it will be running, but it has started. And we encourage you to check online to see how late in the season it will run, as it will go for another couple of months. We want to do a quick thank you to all of the residents who were involved in planning and running both the Everett Street and Haines Street block parties that have happened in the last couple of weeks. These were both great events. They were put on by the community and allowed a number of neighbors to meet each other and interact, which is especially important since the last few years of what's been going on with COVID. So thank you to everyone who's involved with all of those events. I'm now going to turn it over to Josh for just a quick minute, and as he's the organizer for the Love Your Block event scheduled on September 24th. Josh?
Hey, yeah, thanks for that. We're going to have the Love Your Block event. They're bringing it back for the first time since 2019. So it's great. A lot of different events going on September 17th, but East Boston is September 24th. So we're going to go ahead and meet in Brophy Park on that day. And we'll be able to provide all of the supplies, including soil, for us to be able to clean up around Brophy Park and around the neighborhood and start actually planting some bulbs for the spring. Fortunately, the Boston Blooms event regarding bringing us daffodil bulbs usually doesn't occur until October. There are applications now for that. So we would have to have a separate event for the daffodils, Boston Blooms.
Thanks, Josh. As a reminder, registration is not required to participate in Love Your Block. But if you wish to register or let us know you're coming, we would love to know. Everyone is welcome. This is an all ages event. And thank you, Josh, very much for putting this together and being our host and coordinator this year. And I see that Rachel Bloomerth is letting me know that the last day of ferry service for this year is November 30th. So take a boat ride that ends near your house and join us on September 24th, Saturday, for Love Your Block. Coming back to this week, On Friday, September 16th from 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m., the Harborfront Neighborhood Alliance is hosting a Coalition for a Resilient and Inclusive Waterfront Summit at Roxbury Community College. This free event is meant to bring together elected officials, community leaders, residents, students, and others around a collective vision for the future of our waterfront. More specific information, including an agenda and opportunities for registration, can be found on Eventbrite. Another event that the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association is putting on this month, we are hosting a great swap on Sunday, September 25th. Residents are encouraged to put gently used items on your curb. The only rule is you may not block walkways or sidewalks. If you block the walkway or the sidewalk, the city will ticket you. We do encourage you to post that items are, or mark that items are free or somehow label them so that people know. And we're doing this as the Neighborhood Association is doing this because we hope to reduce the amount of garbage overall that comes out of Jeffreys Point and also make it easier for individuals who may not have cars or may be mature to be able to dispose of what items that they don't want anymore, but still have value or use. We have been asked to contact the city and ask that they not ticket people if things are left out on the sidewalk until trash day. We have put in the request. We have not received a confirmation that you will not receive a ticket. So as of this moment, assume that you will receive one and that you should bring back items back into your home. The Monday before the event, Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association will post on Facebook and let people know that if you want to put your address, list your address there along with the types of items you have, you are welcome to do that. However, it is not a requirement to do so to participate. The only thing to require to participate is that you put items out front and label them as free. We will do a lot of promotion both throughout both throughout East Boston and other local neighborhoods and encourage people to come down and take our stuff. And my last announcement is that this is a reminder that development projects at the monthly meeting are meant to be both reviewed and voted on. If you're interested in being part of the negotiation process and really drilling down to the details for developments, we encourage you to attend the planning and zoning meetings, which occur the second Wednesday of every month. Planning and zoning meetings, although we do tend to focus a little bit more on the concerns of abutters, they are open to everyone and everyone is welcome to attend and participate. At the moment, those are also starting at 7 p.m. and on Zoom. Just a reminder that this particular meeting is a voting meeting. We use e-ballot to manage this process. And to be eligible to vote at a monthly meeting, you must be present at this meeting and either be an abutter to a project, meaning you reside within 300-foot radius of the project address, or have attended a meeting within the previous 3 months here at the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association. And by that, we need a monthly meeting, not a planning and zoning meeting. You also need to be a resident within the JPNA boundaries. Normally, July would count as a meeting that was one of the previous 3 months. Unfortunately, we were not able to obtain an accurate list of attendees for the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association potluck. So July, unfortunately, we're not able to count. Moving on, we get to do, it's both this happy and sad moment here at the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association. Mary Cole, who has been a board member for several years and has been a wonderful tour de force, is unfortunately stepping down to focus on other projects. So we're going to take a quick moment. I noticed that several of our elected officials and the representatives are here. They can't present things to Mary in person, but we're going to hear about some of the things they've brought with them and that they will share with her. I'm not sure what order the three of you would like to go in, but I'm going to go in the order that's on my screen. So Lydia, we'll start with you, and Adrian will go next, and then Gabriela. But Lydia, go right ahead.
Hi, Mary. I came on extra special because I actually remember when we met. We met through Margaret, and we met, and you wanted nothing more than to be as busy and impossibly busy and involved in the community. You had an incredible energy and passion for this community and wanting to just not be involved, but really be a resource to people as well. And that's what you become. You become a friend of the neighborhood and a well-known person and known for basically putting your heart out there, and also having green hair every now and then, because you're passionate also about that. You love where you live, and you want other people to love where you live. And that's just seen in everything that you're dedicated to. And it's not easy. And I'll say this to everybody else, including Josh, who's now stepping up. It's not easy at all to be on a neighborhood association. It is not always fun. It is a dedicated and almost obsessive love with your neighborhood that drives all of you to be here. And I just am grateful and I'm thankful. And I just made sure to come on to say that to you. So thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lydia.
Adrian?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mary. Can you all hear me? Okay, great. I've been having some issues with the audio, so I'm glad you can all hear me. Really happy to be here. I miss seeing all of you. Margaret, Susan, Rachel, Andrew, thank you all for putting these on each and every month. Josh, appreciate you stepping up. You got big shoes to fill, my friend, but we know that you're up to the challenge. I don't even know where to begin, Mary. I feel like in such a short time we've become unbelievably close. When you moved here, as Lydia said, you made it a point to get deeply involved and make this your home. And really, we have all become better off for your service, Mary. There are so many amazing things that you're involved in, from Pierce Park Sailing Center, which is when we sometimes see you with the green hair when you go jumping in the freezing cold water to help raise funds through Save the Harbor, Save the Bay. Your work to always advocate to making the harbor front and our waterfront in particular more accessible to everyone. Your advocacy on ferries, yay, they started back today. I remember during the pandemic, you were deeply involved in the Boston area mask initiative, and you dropped off hundreds of masks that you sewed at home and helped me get those out to neighbors in need. During the census, you worked so hard to make sure that everyone was counted so that Massachusetts wouldn't lose resources. And you really made it a point to engage all of your neighbors and get the word out there. And then, of course, through your service to JPNA, you've always been a bright light to our community, not just in Jeffreys Point, but certainly across East Boston. But your work at JPNA really helped to provide an important forum for civic engagement, to keep folks up to date on what's going on, to be an advocate for our neighborhood on so many issues, Mary. And in fact, it wasn't too long ago that I was recognizing you as the Commonwealth Heroine of the Year. I think that was it 2021? Was that recently, right? I mean, it all blends together. But that was because you are just an incredibly special person. And we are very fortunate to have you as a neighbor, to have you as an advocate, and to have you as a friend, Mary. And while I can't give this to you in person, I did make another citation for you in recognition of your service on the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association board. I will be certain to get this to you so you can add it to the collection of citations you've been receiving over the years. But really, I think that's just a testament to what a special person you are. So on behalf of the entire community, Mary, I want to just express gratitude for stepping up, for serving. Lydia touched on this, but it can be at times a very thankless job being on the board of the Civic Association. As many of you know, my mom has been involved with the Eagle Hill Civic Association for pretty much as long as I've been alive, and I've seen that firsthand. But through thick and thin, you've always been there, always with a smile, always ready to roll up your sleeves and work to improve the community, Mary. So just wanted to stop by tonight to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Adrian.
We love you, Mary.
We do love you, Mary, and I think Lydia and Adrian have summed it up perfectly, but I wanted to just be sure to come on and really take this opportunity to honor you as somebody who got right to work in East Boston the minute you and your family got here. I think you and I met in 2016 at the Jeffreys Point Yacht Club when I was attending these meetings on behalf of Adrian when I was a staffer for him. And you were always just so welcoming and warm. But you were a strong advocate, though. You asked me some serious questions and I had to make sure I went back and got the answers. And you continued that level of advocacy to this day. And there wasn't a cause or too small or too large for you to jump in, just roll up your sleeves, neighborhood cleanups, everything. You just got stuff done and you continue to get things done. Super reliable, consistent presence for all things related to Jeffreys Point, including cooking some delicious goods that I've had at a at a barbecue or two. But just thank you again for your advocacy, for volunteering many hours coming to this, and dedication to Eastie, and just being passionate about everything from the nuts and bolts, like the streets, making sure our streets are paved and clean, parking enforcement, to longer term issues, as Adrian mentioned, like waterfront resiliency and affordable housing. I have learned a lot from you. And so I hope that we do you proud. And so it is my honor as well to recognize your years of dedication to the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association on behalf of the Boston City Council, signed by Council President Flynn and the City Clerk's Office. So I will be sure to get this over to you as well. And just thank you so much for everything, Mary.
Well, I have to tell you, I'm humbled and a little embarrassed and super grateful. I guess I'm gonna just, an old saw from the state I moved here from was, I wasn't born in Jeffreys Point, but I got here as soon as I could. And I think Joshua probably feels that way. And Joshua hit the ground running too. So, you know, he's in good hands and I'm not going anywhere. I'm here supporting him. The realtor who helped me buy my house said, you know, I'm there. I'll help you sell it when you're ready. And I said, no, they're carrying me out feet first, not ever selling. So anyhow, so I'll be here, but we've got a great board and a great group of people. And thank you. I am super humbled, super grateful.
And I speak for myself, but also for all of our board members when I say that we are grateful for all of your hard work, Mary. We do better work and we do it in a much more organized fashion because of your experience and for all that you've brought to us. So thank you. We are grateful. So we thank you. Unfortunately, Mary is actually going to jump off because she has another meeting. What?
But you guys came first.
Oh, yes.
And we appreciate, you guys were my priority. So.
We appreciate that.
So,
But one of the reasons that I mentioned this is bittersweet is even though we are saying goodbye to Mary, well, not goodbye, we're saying we're having a transition as she is not going anywhere. She's just changing slightly. But we are also welcoming Joshua Schmidt, who is joining us as a new board member. He's been in training for the last couple of months, so he's had a better inkling of what he's walking into now, and he has not run away screaming. So we take that as a very good sign. And we do administer an oath of office. And as we are a board that believes that we answer to the people of Jeffreys Point, as that you are the ones who make the decisions, we have asked a elder statesman, Patty DeMori, if she would be willing to administer the oath to Josh this evening. So Patty, I will turn it over to you.
I'm not sure how I feel about that introduction, Margaret. I don't know about elder statesman anymore, but thank you. And thank you for the honor of administering the oath. Joshua, I'll ask you to insert your name when I tell you, but please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Joshua Schmidt,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the residents of the Jeffreys Point neighborhood,
to support the residents of the Jeffreys Point neighborhood,
to strive to the utmost
to strive to the utmost
to carry out the wishes of the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association,
to carry out the wishes of the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association,
to carry out the duties of my office
to carry out the duties of my office
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
to obey the bylaws, policies, and guiding principles
to obey the bylaws, policies, and guiding principles
of the Jeffries Point Neighborhood Association,
of the Jeffries Point Neighborhood Association,
and to work towards making Jeffries Point the best neighborhood in Boston.
and to work towards making Jeffries Point the best neighborhood in Boston.
Great. Joshua, congratulations.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Patty. We appreciate you bringing him on in this fashion. It's a great way to start. So now, unfortunately, I have to take us back to a bit more of our traditional agenda. I see we're joined this evening by Officer Domenico for the East Boston Police Department, and we will ask you to provide us with our monthly update.
Hi, Margaret. Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. First of all, I want to give a big thank you to Mary Cole. She's also been a friend of ours, and she's always helped us, and she's done a good job in the community. Thank you, Mary. After that, we'll give you a couple of updates here. The block party at Everett Street and on Haynes Street. We hear that was a huge success, and we thank you, everybody for coming and enjoying themselves. We didn't really make that Haynes stay there too long because we're involved in Eastie Pride Day, which was another big success. And thank you to everybody that was involved in that. Yesterday was I think one of the most important events they have in East Boston was the 9/11 Memorial. It was put together started years ago by Fran Rowan, who did a great job, and David Aronella was the MC yesterday, and Dave did a good job, and thank you to Dave. All right, we'll start off on the July 26th. A couple of incidents, B&E to a motor vehicle on Maverick Street. Car doors were left open and somebody broke in and took some items out of there. On July 30th, at 170 Carter Street inside Bella's Market, there was a woman assaulted, and fortunately she was not injured, which was a good thing. On August 5th, Marginal Street, we had a victim of a dog bite. On August 14th, we got a call from Marginal Street for a fight inside a motor vehicle. Turned out to be a domestic dispute, and both parties denied fighting, but there was a report generated by our officers. On August 25th at 1 a.m. in the morning at 139 Carter Street, a female noticed a peeping Tom. She noticed him through her doorbell cam, and she scared him away and she chased him away. She called 911, but the officers were unable to locate the suspect. On the 27th of August at 248 Maverick Street, there was a call for attempted B&E in the building. This turned out to be just a couple of squatters inside an apartment. On the 8th of September, a couple of days ago, at 81 Lubeck Street, our officers conducted a motor vehicle stop. And the operator was unlicensed, so he was issued a citation and summons into court. On the 6th of September, 10 Olean Street, we had a report of some Amazon packages being stolen off the front desk of someone's stairs. So if you're gonna have something from Amazon, FedEx delivered, just maybe try to leave it with a neighbor so it doesn't get stolen. And on the 9th of September, we had an incident at 31 Carter Street. I guess somebody went in the woman's front door and they stole a ladder from her house. On September 10th on 260 Maverick Street, this happened right around midnight. A woman was coming home on her Uber, and I guess she had a little too much to drink. She fell out of the car. She suffered a head injury. She was transported to Mass General for some treatment. And also on September 10th, on Olean's and East Pier Road down by the waterfront, our officers, they made an arrest of a couple of kids in a stolen car. And let's see, we haven't had any complaints this past couple of weeks from the people from the ship, or the neighbors, so that could be a good thing. Still complaining about the traffic construction on Olean Street, Marginal Street, Sumner Street, but not really much we could do about that. If there is a complaint, give us a call at 911. A drug unit's been out there making arrests. We have guys from our licensed premise unit been out there after midnight going through the bars. If they see any violations, they have been writing them up. And one last thing, I'm sure Karen Magaletta's listening here. I hope she is, but we've been having an issue down by the caboose lately. And
Yep.
right before we come on here, probably about 6:30, 6:45, our officers did make 2 arrests down there near the caboose. I don't know what the incident was about yet, but I'm sure I'll find out and I will relay the information to Karen. And that's all I have to say. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Officer Domenico. Rachel, do you see anything in the chat?
I do not.
Okay. Thank you, Officer Domenico. As always, we appreciate you being here and
Thank you for having me.
updates. If we do have any questions, we will certainly email them into you. And if people in the community have questions, you should feel free to email us at board@jeffreyspoint.org.
Thank you.
We are, unfortunately, at this time, we would normally call upon our mayor's liaison. Unfortunately, she is out of office for another week or two. The mayor's office had mentioned that they would be sending somebody, but they weren't sure who, so we never received confirmation. Is there someone here from the mayor's office who was expecting to be able to make some announcements? Okay, I wasn't sure, but I didn't think so, but I wasn't sure. In that case, we were asked to do a special update this month, and we are very thrilled that our city councilor, Gabriela Colleta, is already here. And then I do believe that we're being joined by Assistant Commissioner of Environmental Services, John Ulrich, should also be here as well. I'm looking for him. People move around here. Because we have heard from a number of residents that we have had a continuing issue with rats. The city has taken multiple actions and we've asked them to join us here this evening. We're going to talk about this separately, and then Gabrielle is going to give us her update separately, but we did want to focus and call this out as a special issue. Gabriela, I'm going to let you take it away, and I'm going to look for the commissioner while you speak, and then we'll be able to have a bit of a holistic view of what's been going on. Thank you. Go ahead.
Sure. So my understanding was that I was going to give a general update on my work, and then we're going to have John speak to what's been going on with the rat issue. Is that how you want to set this up? And frame it?
I wasn't sure if you had anything specifically you wanted to talk about in regards to the rat issue. I wanted to make sure that we gave you the option.
Sure. I mean, just quickly on that topic. So the Boston
Yes.
City Council has, during the budget process that ended June 30th, I think it was 3 weeks on the job, maybe a little bit more, but along with other city councilors, including Councilor-at-Large, Ruthzee, Louijeune, and Liz Brereton, and I know Kenzie Bach in District 8 also fought for this as well. But we fought to get additional resources for ISD for rat abatement. And so, for me, I've always heard about rats in this neighborhood, and I hear folklore of the skunks that were released in our community to try to get rid of them. And with the development and how fast we're growing, I know it is an issue. And I know specifically in Jeffreys Point, it's an issue. So with that investment into more city resources to help fight this issue, I mean, that's just one strategy, right? We have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to clean up our streets, to keep them clean, to make sure that we're picking up trash. I think in my general update, I'll talk about my community service initiative where we did have a trash pickup. We picked up 80 pounds of trash across the district. So in East Boston had the most. And so it is an ongoing issue, and I hope to organize more of those. But just know that this is something that I'm looking into, and I have been working actively with ISD Commissioner Sean Lynon about this. But that's the extent of my update. And happy to elaborate more. We can pass it to John, whatever you'd like to do.
Okay. Yep, I do see that John has joined us. So John, if we could ask you to give your update, that'd be great.
Thanks, Margaret. John Ulrich, Boston Inspectional Services. I run the Environmental Service Division, which is an enforcement division. We're tasked with rodent control, addressing rodent control by enforcing the sanitary code. And so a little bit about our department. We have 14 licensed pest control inspectors citywide. And our main function is enforcing the sanitary code through written abatement. Some of the other things that we do is proactively baiting sewers. And we do pest control in city parks and on city property. The issue that is up in Jeffrey's Point, I was the inspector in East Boston before I was the assistant commissioner. And so I'm familiar with the neighborhood. The rodent activity, although there's a little bit of debate whether there's an increase or a change in behavior, people are seeing more rodent activity. And so we want to address it. And so for residents, the best thing to do to avoid rodent activity or address rodent activity is address any food source on your property. They have an acronym in pest control called FO, and it stands for food over everything. And so what drives rodent activity in the city is food. The density and human behavior, rodent activity is based on human behavior. And so making sure your trash is secured in barrels, stored properly, that the second largest food source in the city of Boston, I would say, is bird feeders or feeding birds, or feral cats feeding animals. And the third is cleaning up after your dogs. Dog waste is a food source for rodents. It can be a preferred food source. So addressing food is the number one way to reduce rodent activity. If you see rodent activity on your property, the first thing you should do is call a licensed pest control company, and then call 311. And we will come out and do an inspection, try to figure out what is causing the rodent activity, and then address those through violation written abatement. Some of the different things that we're working on, the councilor talked about the additional money in the budget. We are extremely lucky to have folks in government that are concerned about this issue. I talked to folks from other cities up and down the East Coast, Seattle, and their biggest struggle is getting elected officials to care about this issue. So we're ahead of the game in that aspect. That money right now is going to be put towards additional staffing and additional tools. Dry ice has come up quite a bit, and the logistics of the regulation has become difficult. There is a new machine out that we're looking to get that we wouldn't have to buy the dry ice. And so that will help us with rodent activity in parks and in city ways. We're also working with the IT department on a mapping tool that will allow us to map all the work we do, also map 311 complaints to look for trends in rodent activity, and based on data, allow us to redirect our resources to be more proactive. And so that's an overview. I'm happy to stay on and answer any specific questions that you have. I know that we do have, it looks like on my sheet right now, I have 11 open cases of abatement in Jeffrey's Point.
And just to let you know, John, your office did send over some pamphlets in both English and Spanish, thank you, that we are going to share with the community, and encourage people that if they see a property, they can leave a copy for them as a way to, not confront them, but maybe let them know that there are certain expectations in regards to how they dispose of garbage.
Yes, and 311, the app, I can't stress it enough. The app is the best way to report an issue. I don't want anybody confronting anybody or having any kind of issue. Our inspectors are trained to deal with folks and deal with issues on people's property. If you use the app, it's the best way to get a response from the inspector. The inspector in East Boston is Inspector Conlon. He's very good. He's very responsive. So you put in a complaint in the 311 app, you will get a response of an action. Sometimes he'll ask for more information or contact information so he can reach out directly. Your contact information is never shared. No one will ever find out you put in a complaint. So the best tool for us is the ability for 311 apps to go directly to the inspector.
Okay, thank you. Rachel, do we have any questions in the chat?
Yes, a few questions. One question is in light of this, has the city ever, talked about maybe having a requirement that trash be put in barrels as opposed to bags just being left on the street? Like, wouldn't that help the problem too?
So that is a public works question. I don't deal with the ordinance around trash or trash pickup. Anytime you can reduce the amount of food on the street, helps with rodent control. But the trash pickup ordinance and the larger operation of picking up trash is pretty complex, and it's not really a part of our department.
Gotcha. Okay. Another resident asked, what is the abatement program mentioned?
So the abatement is the violation that we write on the sanitary code. So some folks might see red tickets. That's one form of violation. That's issued by a code enforcement officer. That's usually has to do with trash. Our violation is a written violation served by a constable that does not have a fine to it. If the person doesn't correct the violation within 7 days, they're sent to an administrative hearing. If it's not corrected by the administrative hearing, they're sent to housing court for hearing in front of a judge.
Great. Another resident just mentioned that 160 Webster has been reported on 311 multiple times about overgrowth and rats. It was closed 3 times, citing it's under construction and other excuses. It's still overgrown, full of rats, so I regularly feed the stray cats and will continue to reduce the amount of rats around my building. So that's just a 160 Webster.
So I don't have any information on 160 Webster, but I will look into it, and if I could maybe report back to you, Rachel, or Margaret, if that would work.
That would be great.
Absolutely.
And then I don't know if this is a question for you, but another resident asked, how successful has the composting initiative been in the city so far?
It is that is a different department. I know that they are working very hard on it. They did consult with us just around what our thoughts were around rodent activity. In theory, separating food from trash is a good thing. So I know they are working hard to work out the kinks. But it's not my program.
And then just another property someone mentioned is 130 Webster. So if you can add that to your list, that would be lovely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to just say that Inspector Aldrich, I'm not sure what your title is, Inspector Aldrich or Commissioner Aldrich. I just want to say that his office actually volunteered to come here this evening. After we had been in communication with them several times, but he actually volunteered to come here to give us an update on what was going on and give us a clearer picture. So I would just like to say thank you.
Thank you. And I'm happy to meet folks in the neighborhood. We have done quite a few walkthroughs
Mhm.
to try to get more inspectors' eyes on the issue. We can do a lot, but we also need cooperation from residents. I know sometimes it's challenging with rental units but controlling trash, if the trash is allowed to go out the night before, it doesn't mean if you can put it out the morning of, you shouldn't. So any assistance that we can get from residents to think about how your trash affects rodent activity would be super helpful. And we're available. I have inspectors. Most of the work that we do starts and is done before you get up in the morning. They start at 4 a.m. and I have inspectors that work till 5:45 at night. So, so please reach out. Please use the 311 app, and we're available whenever you need us.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sorry to say this is probably not the end of this issue, but we do appreciate you working on it and working with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to do a quick time check. It is 7:45. We still have 3 things left on the agenda, so I am going to move us forward. We here at the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association, part of our mission is to hold our city leaders accountable. And as part of that, we do ask them to return to us at least once a year on an annual basis. So we are very pleased this evening to be joined by Gabriela, Colleta, and Ruthzee. And I'm not going to say your last name, Ruthzee, because I'll say it wrong. But we're going to start with Gabriela. As we did have her first on the agenda, I am so sorry, Ruthzee. I know we told you 7:30. We are running a little bit behind. Please accept my apologies. But Gabriela, I know you're new in the job, but if you could talk for a few minutes about what some of your priorities are for the coming year, and then do give us a few minutes to ask questions. You are welcome to submit questions in the chat while Gabriela is speaking. And then we will ask Ruthzee to do the same. But we do appreciate you being here this evening. We appreciate this opportunity to interact with you directly. So Gabriela, I will let you take it away. And Ruthzee will call on you in just a couple of minutes. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much, Margaret, and good evening, everybody. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you to John for your presentation and your work on this. We have a lot of unsung heroes in our city staff and departments, so I'm happy you're here and just outlining your program and just how hard you are working on the streets every day. I did send trash information in the chat to Rachel and some of the regulations. So in case folks were wondering more, there is that link. And I have heard anecdotally that the composting program is going well. I'm looking for some data on that and hope to share that with you all soon. And again, just congratulations to Mary and for your awesome tenure, and to Josh just for stepping up. But it's good to be here. I mean, it has been 4 months and we're closing out the last few days of summer. And I've seen a lot of you at Piers Park, at concerts, at Eastie Pride Day, at the Haines Street Block Party. And it's been awesome just being your counselor. I absolutely love this job. The last time I came, I was interviewing for this job. So I just want to say thank you for hiring me. It's been an incredible experience just to advocate and fight for this community with our incredible state delegation and Senator Lydia Edwards and State Representative Adrian Martero, and on the council with incredible folks like Councilor-at-Large Louijeune and others. And it has just been 4 months, but I promised to hit the ground running, and I feel like I have been able to do that, hitting the ground sprinting, all of the things. And with a significant advantage because I came in fully understanding the nuances of City Hall and City Council. So on the council side, I have introduced a number of policy initiatives. And then on the constituent services side, it's honestly been a pleasure being in the trenches, answering your emails personally and calling you back and calling up commissioners and chiefs regularly about things like rats and trash, streets, trees, all of that, and just leveraging on existing relationships that I've had and being able to hold them accountable in a very unique way. And I hope that I've been effective for you all. I feel like I have been, but I obviously know that I'm here because I want to be accountable or be held accountable. And so I want to update you on my work, but I am treating this like my first job review, right? Because it's the first time since I've come back. So I'm open to feedback, thoughts, suggestions. And I just love coming out here and listening to all of your great ideas and discussing how we can make East Boston even brighter. So I'll start with the city budget. And then I'll go into ARPA, and that's kind of how the progression of my time at the council has gone. It was first budget in May and June, and then parsing through the once in a generation American Rescue Plan Act, $380 million worth of money, and how to divvy that up, and then some other things that I've done in the summertime that has led us up to today. So in the city budget process, we had new powers. We were able to move money around from different departments in the operating budget only. And so there were a lot of kinks that we had to work out, but at the end of the day, and for District 1 in particular, I was able to successfully negotiate more money for growing our tree canopy. This was a campaign promise, and this is something that is deeply personal to me. I grew up here, breathing in the ultrafine particulates from the airport, and we have the lowest tree canopy in the city. And not only are we not protected and we don't have that barrier from the airplanes, but it creates an urban heat island effect. And this is something that the Wu administration is looking into right now. So we're able to get more money for folks to even just come out and maintain our trees, because there's absolutely nobody. Excuse me, sorry, we had one or two folks that were working really, really hard, but they just needed additional help. I was also able to negotiate $100,000 worth of investment in exploring how to modernize 311. This was also something that I talked about, and this is ongoing, and I'm working with the Civic Engagement Cabinet to get a system that is updated. The last one was made in 2013, and in order to adequately service everybody, we need to be able to see where the requests are going, get more than just one response, be able to hold them accountable. I still would love an ombuds person at the end of the day to help resolve cases, but that is something that is ongoing, and there should be more news on this soon. I was able to also negotiate seasonal hokey positions for folks to go around and pick up the trash in this neighborhood and help Lenny out, because he's a one-man show and he needs the help. And then additionally, I was able to get $100,000 worth of funding for the Immigrants Lead Boston program. And this is a program for Boston immigrants who wish to become civic leaders in their communities. So we're basically training folks to be the next JPNA board members and really be able to learn how to negotiate and fight effectively for their communities. And this is something that I made sure to make a priority. And then there were things that I didn't get, right? Such as life, but I'll keep fighting for more parking enforcement in this neighborhood. That was something that didn't make it through the budget process, but something that I'm talking to Mayor Wu about. And then a cabinet level position for waterfront planning. I think we all know, and we see it all the time with king tides, that climate change is here, right? It's not coming to a theater near us, it is here. And the risk of climate change are too great. And this district will be hit first and worst if we don't do anything to help protect us and meet the sea at the end of the day. So switching from that and moving to ARPA dollars, I was able to fight and receive $2.5 million directly allocated to my district. And this is unusual, right? This is that once in a generation transformative influx of cash where councilors were able to have direct earmarked funds. So specifically for East Boston, I worked with Councilor Kendra Lara over in Jamaica Plain, who's the chair of the Housing Committee, to secure $1 million with a subsequent commitment from DND, thanks to Chief Sheila Dillon. She really stepped up, of $9 million to protect 114 units of existing housing from going on the international market to speculators and developers here in East Boston. So think of our naturally affordable housing stock in triple deckers and two families. They're all going to be protected and ensure that they're going to be affordable. And at the end of the day, we're going to be able to prevent displacement through a first of its kind. And I can get into the weeds on this if people want in the questioning, but it's a first of its kind neighborhood affordable housing trust that is run by the community. So I'll stop there, but if anybody has any questions on that, happy to answer on it more. And then in East Boston, I was able to get $500,000 for the O'Donnell School Playground, as well as $50,000 for the East Boston Soup Kitchen for their operations. So I'll do the council side and then the constituent services side, but I know that I'm running up against time, so I'll be very brief. I've tried to prioritize policy in the following buckets, just based on what I was hearing from folks in the neighborhood. But environmental justice, which is essentially, to me, climate and mobility, they go hand in hand. Housing affordability, education, and at the end of the day, just making city government more efficient and effective, and just providing good constituent services at the end of the day. So I did, the first thing I did do was sponsor a hearing order for a comprehensive district-wide master plan for our waterfront. Right now, we have a very piecemeal parcel by parcel approach to waterfront development. There's no cohesive vision for it. And at the end of the day, the water will always win. And I think the city has done a good job in thinking about certain strategies, like elevating harbor walks, elevating buildings on platforms, but I haven't seen this contemporary approach that other cities are doing, like Rotterdam and Amsterdam, where they're creating more permeable spaces. They're looking at nature-based solutions. And so the hearing is actually happening 10 days from now on September 22nd in the evening. And I invite everybody to come and give their testimony and what your vision is for a waterfront that is resilient, inclusive, and accessible for everybody. Addition to that, I put out a tree mitigation fund hearing order. There's something happening in Florida in West Palm Beach, where if a developer or builder cannot meet their open space requirements or their minimum for trees, actually, I think it's the minimum for trees, and a tree costs X amount of dollars, they have to put it into a fund. And after 6 months, they've raised over $50,000. And the cool thing about West Palm Beach is that the money goes to environmental justice communities. And so I think that this is a real opportunity for the city of Boston to put its money where its mouth is. And the same with developers too, who say, oh yeah, we want to help with climate change and we're committed to this work. I really want them to pay into this fund and come up with an equation that makes sense. And Margaret, I see you coming, so I'll be very quick. How many more minutes do I have?
So actually, you've gone for 10 minutes.
Okay.
What I was going to say is I'm not going to stop you. I'm going to say, can we transfer over to doing about like 5 minutes of questions?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And then, well, I'll tell you that let's check with Rachel and see if she has questions. If she doesn't have any, I'll let you go for another 5 minutes. If she does have questions, we'll take 5 minutes for questions. Okay. Rachel? You're on mute.
I currently have one question. Do you want me to go to that,
Yeah,
or
let's
okay.
do that. And then if some come in while we're asking that, we'll do those. And if not, then we'll give Gabriela a few minutes to wrap up.
Okay. This resident says, I don't expect you to solve this today, but there is nowhere in East Boston to properly dispose of sharp needles. In other neighborhoods, they can do this at the health center or police station. Is this something we can work on?
Yes, and thank you so much for bringing this up. I'm trying to look for the email that I sent on July 5th to the director of this program in the city of Boston. The director of recovery services. Somebody in the community brought this up to me, and I asked if we could try to get this up and running. We had an initial conversation that kind of petered off since then, but thank you for the reminder to just check back in and see what we can do, because I agree. East Boston, I don't think has any. And I would like to see at least 3, one in Maverick, Jeffreys Point area, Day Square, and then Orion Heights. So thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I'm seeing another one coming in. Okay. So what is your thinking about parking in East Boston, given the cumulative parking variances that have been granted to developers, which is being acutely felt now?
Yeah, parking is always a tough issue. And this is something that I'm hearing from a lot of folks across the district in Charlestown and of course the North End. Parking is wow, what a quagmire. Well, for me, I think that the development projects that come in, if they are larger than a certain amount of units, right, and they have parking on the first floor, folks should be obligated to park there, right, and not be able to park on the street. So what that means is that they aren't allowed to get residential parking permits. And I know that this is something that the BPDA has looked into. The last conversation that I had, somebody that works there within development review said that they're working around it legally. There was some sort of challenge to this, and I think it had to do with the Beverly over in the North End, where it was written into folks' contract or in the agreement for this development project that folks that live there were not going to be able to get a residential parking permit. So for me, I see that as one strategy to try to help with parking. But at the end of the day, we have more people that are coming in. Our transit system is a mess, but I see it holistically. So it needs to be the fact that we try to get as many cars off the street as possible through limiting residential parking permits. We need to have our T cost less than it costs to go through the tunnel. That's one thing. And then water transportation too, prioritizing that. And I just want to give a special shout out to State Representative Adrian Modero and Lydia Edwards for pushing that forth, in addition to helping with our bike infrastructure. But I still want to see a bike car on the T if possible, because I know that a lot of folks on this call ride bikes, but you can't ride them to downtown. You can't take them on the T during rush hour. So that's something that I've brought up numerous times with the MBTA as a way to just try to get cars off the street at the end of the day. But parking, I know it's a tough issue. And I really, I look forward to Mayor Wu's leadership and partnering with her on all things mobility, just to try to limit as many new cars coming into the city.
2-minute time check. 2-minute time check.
Okay, another question. What are some steps the city council can work on regarding coordination of construction permits, as it's painfully, particularly on cleaning days, if multiple blocks are closed off for public works construction?
Yeah, thank you. So I organized a walk. So I heard from everybody on this call. I heard from a lot of people about what's happening in Jeffries Point. And I'm a walker myself. I love to take walks through the neighborhood, and I saw just how bad it was. And so I was able to co-sponsor a hearing order with Council President Ed Flynn for a hearing for the coordination of utility permits and construction. And this is something where I want to get Boston Water and Sewer, National Grid, Eversource to the table, because at the end of the day, we have limited parking. There's conflicting tour delays. You've got one delay pointing to one street that's actually closed and getting repaved. And at the end of the day, after having conversations with the commissioner and the chief of streets on this, it comes down to the fact that our permitting system is old. It's called COBUX. And for all those who are fans of the nuts and bolts, please feel free to come see me for coffee or call me to talk about it. But it's the COBUX system, and it's old. And for the permit approval process, you can't see where other permits are being approved in close proximity. And so right now, it's just that we're coordination poor, and we need to have significant investments to improve this technology, because again, just like 311, it was created in 2013, 2014.
Okay. Gabriela, I am so sorry to cut you off. I know we could go for like another 20 minutes. And we do appreciate you being here. The good news is I know that this is not the last time we will see you. Certainly, I can make this announcement comfortably now that the Jeffries Point Neighborhood Association will have our holiday event in person this year. And so that will be the second Monday in December. And so we certainly welcome you to come back and talk with people in person at that time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And if I could just add, we have a newsletter. I'll be sure to put a link in the chat where you can stay updated on everything that we're doing. I've tried to be responsive, accessible, and transparent. I have Sebastian Pata, who is my incredible East Boston liaison, on the call here too. So we'll be sure to put our contact information in the chat. And just thank you all again so much for having me. And I look forward to seeing you out in the community.
Absolutely. Please put your email address. If you want to put a website, any contact information you'd like, please feel free to include it, and we will share it with the entire community.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Now we will move over. So I need to give Ruthzee a little bit of a plug here for just a minute. The Neighborhood Association, we had a board meeting about a month ago, and we talked about the fact that we've been so focused on development for a while that we really wanted to hear from our elected officials. We emailed out, Gabriela responded in like record time that she wanted to come here. And we emailed every single at-large city councilor. How many at-large city councilors do you think we've heard from? And she's with us here tonight. So I just would like to give a little bit of credit where credit is due, that we reached out to all of our at-large city councilors, and Ruthzee and her office responded immediately and said that they were excited about this opportunity to hear from us. So we are very grateful to have you here this evening, and I will let you introduce yourself so that I do not butcher your last name. Ruthzee, take it away. We're going to give you about, we're going to give you about 15 minutes. You can cut that any way you like.
Okay.
So, but about around 8:15, I'm going to have to cut you off because we do have one last agenda item this evening, but please.
Okay. And I'm going to try not to talk for the entire time, but thank you, JPNA, for having me. I'm Ruthzee Louijeune, at-large city councilor, and it's always a pleasure to be in front of you. I don't think we saw you there, Margaret, but I was at the potluck, got some goodies from Eastie Farm. Really I remember coming before you as a candidate and really happy to be back before you today. I just came off camera. A member of my staff is Policy Director Jesse Purvis, with his daughter Ida, who is on. Ida, who had her first day of kindergarten today. Hi, Ida. So we have EC well represented in my office in City Hall. At-large City Councilor, I live myself on the line between Mattapan and Hyde Park, and have been in office now for 9 months, and I'm really just overjoyed. As Gigi was saying, I'm overjoyed to be representing the city of Boston, and that really includes East Boston. In my time on the council, I want to answer 2 questions that were brought up. One, I believe maybe Rachel was asking the question on behalf of someone else, because we had a whole hearing about pest control and about dumpsters, and we brought up the idea that like we would have less of a rodent issue if people were able to, if we require that everyone put their trash in like a trash bin or container, but that's not currently the requirement. And part of it is because there are large apartment buildings where they can't, it's difficult for people to have that like trash can receptacle. That, that people who are like, homeowners or live in a triple decker where it's easy for them to bring trash to the corner in a container. But I think, it's something that we're thinking about. Even going, we even talked about going, how apartment buildings back in the day used to have those chutes that you would shoot, you could put trash down. And so like maybe thinking about learning from our past, when we're thinking about what are the standards we want for buildings in the future. And speaking of the future, talking about environmental justice issues, one of the things that we've been working on in partnership with the mayor is this home rule petition to set fossil fuel free standards for new building construction. Right now, the Commonwealth just passed a climate bill that allows certain municipalities that qualify to participate in a pilot program to explore setting fossil fuel free standards for new constructions and building, which I think would be a really exciting opportunity for the city, given our realization and understanding that we should have been addressing climate change and climate justice yesterday. And so thinking about that is really exciting, and work that I'm doing in the Government Operations Committee, but also, as an ally and advocate, I testified before the siting board in opposition to the substation, along with a number of East Boston residents, because we know that East Boston already, suffers disproportionately when it comes to environmental justice issues. And so being an ally there was an easy ask, given, learning about the issue and standing in solidarity with folks in the community and in community-based organizations even last year. So, and then as chair of the Civil Rights Committee, we've been doing a lot of great work with the Office of Returning Citizens, making sure that our residents who are coming home from incarceration have the resources they need to prevent recidivism, to prevent having to return to incarceration. And by really, beefing up an office that really hasn't seen any sincere investment since it was started in 2016. So doing the work of getting an increased budget, but also making sure that they're partnering with community-based organizations that are already on the ground doing the work. Some of my budget wins were also getting $100,000 for Citizenship Day to help our lawfully admitted permanent residents become citizens. Sometimes a really big barrier that our immigrant communities face is the cost and the bureaucracy involved with becoming a permanent, citizen. So really expanding the city's partnership with nonprofits that do this citizenship-based work is really exciting. I also championed and moved for us to, as Gigi was stating, the city council got first of its kind power to share budgetary authority with the mayor. And so championed $2.5 million allocation, additional allocation to the city's housing voucher program to help those experiencing homelessness, near homelessness, families with mixed immigrant status. A lot of our students who come from families that are experiencing homelessness. This $2.5 million investment in the city's voucher program will just be another attempt at making sure that every person has a home, which is something that I care deeply about. There are a number of other projects that I've been working on citywide to really address the issues that we've been seeing when it comes to the white supremacist attacks, or whether it comes to making sure that we are doing everything we can to provide for more guidance counselors in all of our schools, providing the support that we need for English language learners and students with limited formal education. These are students who are coming from maybe countries that are war-torn, or countries where they've been fleeing persecution, and making sure that they have the adequate resources that they need. So those are the things and some of the issues that I've been able to champion in my 9 months. I also wanted to answer another question. It's funny because Jesse and I were talking about this today. There's an ordinance passed a few years ago that would require a lot of the pharmacies in the city of Boston to accept needles, and it was an ordinance that was passed, and it's under the provision of ISD to enforce the law that requiring pharmacies to accept used needles, but we don't see it happening. And so one of the things that my office is interested in doing is holding a hearing to explore the SHOPS program and the requirement for pharmacies to accept needles, and why that's not happening. And part of the reason, and I've been doing a lot of work with dumpsters in certain neighborhoods because I feel like a lot of dumpsters, as folks know, are overrun, are really unsightly and just unseemly. And so I think part of the work that we have to do is on the enforcement side, to let folks, property owners, but everyone who comes under the purview of our enforcement, to let them know that we're serious. And the only way that we can do that is getting more serious about enforcement. So those are some of the major things that we've been working on. I'm happy to take any questions. Jesse, you're happy to, if I missed anything big, you're happy to, you feel free to jump in, but I think that those are the main points of what we've been working on in my office.
Awesome.
Great, thank you. Just a quick time check. We have about 5 minutes, so that's perfect.
Okay. So
Great.
first question, BPS has a new superintendent. What areas are you asking her to focus on?
That's an excellent question. So I think when we look at some of the biggest challenges in our school systems, I think one is the issue of mental health. I care a lot about guidance counselors because as a daughter of Haitian immigrants who themselves didn't go to college, didn't know how to navigate the whole world, my guidance counselor was an important resource for me. And I think, I was at the DESE meeting last year where they were presenting the guidance counselor of the year for the entire Commonwealth. And they asked the guidance counselor, like, what can we be doing to get better results from our guidance counselors? And she was like, well, sometimes we overthink the issue. What we need to do is just hire more guidance counselors. And so I think that is part of what we need to do as a city. I think we definitely need to do a better job focusing on our students who are English language learners, and focusing on our students with special needs, especially under this new contract. There are new provisions for how it is set, new provisions on inclusionary classrooms to make them truly inclusive for our students who learn differently. And I think if we look at the DESE report from 2020, it outlines a lot of those issues. It's about English language learners, it's about our students with special needs. And frankly, it's about having a strong leader who really understands the equity framework that we are working with, and strong leadership in central office. I think a lot of the unfortunate things that we see in BPS is as a result of strong leadership. And so my confidence in this current superintendent is, the ability to display strong leadership skills so that we can have a functioning central office. And then if we have a functioning central office, you'll see that sort of in how our schools are performing. So I guess it's the focuses are going to be on English language learners, inclusionary classrooms for our students with special needs, more guidance counselors, and strong central leadership. And then there are issues too, of course, of like racial equity, of making sure that we have buildings that affirm the dignity of every student, which the mayor proposed $2 billion for a Green New Deal for our schools, which is exciting, but we still need to figure out what those parameters are. So those are just the top of the list issues for the superintendent.
Awesome. That is all I currently have right now in the chat.
Okay. We have 2 minutes, 2 more minutes, Ruthzee. Is there anything in particular you'd like to focus on? I mean, I know I have questions, but I want to give you a chance.
No, I prefer answering questions and just the free form speaking. So just let me have it, Margaret.
So well, just I would just say, like, what have you heard in regards to the composting program? Just have you in terms of early feedback? I mean, I know I've seen a number of them on the street, but that's anecdotal evidence. What have you heard in terms of like adoption and success levels?
That's a really great question, because it reminds me, Margaret, that they did not pick up my compost. So I was having a conversation with my neighbor about it, because my neighbor sometimes takes out my trash when I'm not home, which is often because I'm rarely home. And she's like, they didn't pick up your compost. And, I'm actually the only one on my street with this little like green basket, this little green. And I was like, oh, that's embarrassing that we're not getting that right. But my parents are also signed up for it, and they've been using it, and they really love it. I think that there are people who have been looking. And I think if you like East Boston, actually, I remember sitting down with Kanan, BC Farms has been setting the standard for and has really been pushing the city to get composting right. So I think that I think that folks are excited. I think that there's a learning curve for both the city and for residents. This past weekend I was reading the composting booklet. I was thinking about the way that I compost is I put things in the freezer, and then I take it out. That way and I was reading up on best practices when it comes to composting. So we are all learning in the process. And I think that it's okay to give us that learning space. And it's also important for me to tell the city that they did not pick up my compost, because we need to make sure that we become more habitual in doing it.
Yeah, because if it doesn't get picked up, that's the fastest way for people to quit doing it.
Exactly.
I will say those little compost bins are the cutest things ever, by the way.
They are very cute. And then the bin within the bin.
Yes.
So
it's a very smart design.
Yeah.
Did we have any last minute questions come in? I hate to cut anybody off unless, no? Okay. Ruthzee, I will say thank you very much for being here. We do appreciate it. I did miss you at the potluck. Unfortunately, I had a wedding out of the country.
Oh, okay.
So hopefully it's an excused absence, but we will be back in person for our holiday event, which is coming up in December. It'll be the second Monday of the month. We will make sure that we bug Jesse to make sure that he invites you as well. And again, the only city councilor at large who we reached out to, who responded and was here tonight, as Gabriela is also here tonight, and we're thrilled to have you both. So thank you very much. You are welcome to stay to hear how we, handle some of our development. But if you do need to go, we do totally understand.
Awesome. I'm also going to send Rachel my contact information to share with everyone, so that if you have any questions or want to reach out. But Jesse's also a pretty fast way to get in touch. So
that's true. We can leave stuff at his door.
Perfect.
Because we know where he lives.
Yeah. I think that's part of the employment contract. You must be able to accept things at your front door from.
Yes. Good and bad. Good.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We thank everyone for your patience this evening. We will strive to end on time at 8:30. We do know that some of the strongest feedback that we receive from participants in the meeting is that when we say we're going to end at 8:30, they wish us to do that. So we will move on to our last agenda item. This is 516 Sumner Street. This is a voting issue. This has been presented previously at 2 planning and zoning meetings. The proposal is to change occupancy to a 4-family. Also to do a renovation, including the addition of including adding a rear addition. It says here in the description there's a roof deck, but I'm pretty sure that they said that they were going to remove that. It is being presented this evening by the developer, Michael Stuchins, and is represented by attorney Drago and Toscano. And I am not sure who is presenting this evening. If you could say something so I can.
Hi, Margaret, it's Matt.
Matt Eccles back with us here this evening. Okay. Matt, just to do a quick chime check, it is 8:18. So we're going to ask you to do like a 7-minute presentation. So at 8:25, we can flip over to questions and then we can do wrap up. Sound good?
Absolutely. Great. I will be as quick as I can. Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Matt Eckel. I'm an attorney with Drago and Toscano. With me tonight, as you mentioned, is Michael Stuchins, the property owner, as well as Adam Glassman, the architect on this project. As was mentioned, we are seeking to change the occupancy to a 4-family dwelling. This is an interesting building, as it already is a full 4 stories. We are seeking a rear addition for basically an additional bathroom per unit, and then a second means of egress and enclosed stairwell. So to follow up on your point, Margaret, we did eliminate the roof deck from the abutters meeting to, actually in between the 2 planning meetings, and we've significantly reduced the proposed addition from the last meeting to this meeting. So we do have some illustrations, so I will go through this as quickly as possible to explain the changes, and then we'll open it to questions. So as you can see there, it is a 3F 2000 district, and our lot size is 2,500. Next slide. Just a little context, this is the BPA map. We can fly through the existing pictures, as I'm guessing people are pretty familiar with the property and the area. Just a couple aerial views. Let's skip to the next slide, looking up Sumner Street and then probably back down Sumner Street and the existing conditions. So you can see it already is an official 4-story building. Part of this project is to renovate both inside and out, really clean up the building. I think you saw on the cover page our proposed rendering. We can speak more to materials at the end if people have questions, but not only are we seeking to add a unit here, but we really do want to clean this building up. The profile from the street will look very similar. We're not looking to go up any further with a roof deck or with an additional story. Next slide, please. So this is just the zoning analysis. A number of the violations we'd be seeking relief for are pre-existing. The one I will point out, or 2 I will point out, are use. It's a 3F district. We're currently at 3 and we're seeking that 4th unit. However, again, limited work to the building since it's already there. And then we're required 1 additional parking space, but because we are keeping the building and not trying to tear it down, there is no space to add that parking. So again, I'll come back to zoning if people want, but we can keep it moving for the time being. So this is the previously proposed plot plan, and the word previous is omitted here, but this is what we proposed at the last meeting. You can see in the kind of the top part of the screen with the diagonal lines, that was the proposed addition. So it was a fairly large addition, but we were seeking to take advantage of some of the space in the backyard. We have significantly cut that down. As I mentioned, we were previously going 20 feet deep. We're now only looking to go 7 feet deep. And again, that's mostly for the second means of egress stairs, which adds to the health and safety of the future residents. Next slide, please. So what you're seeing here now, so that last image was the previously proposed plan. And now you're seeing existing kind of in the middle of your screen and proposed to the right. So the interesting thing about this is we're actually reducing the footprint of the building. So in the middle of your screen there, or the left image, you can see how it kind of juts out. That's an existing deck, which does go back further than the addition we're proposing now. So if you look over at the right side, that kind of upside down L in the darker gray shading is the proposed addition. So we're just looking to kind of fill in along the left side. And then again, that 7-foot by 19-foot addition, which allows for 1 bathroom and the egress stairwell. Next slide, please. This is our current landscape plan. So we have a number of things going on here. We're proposing some pervious patio pavers to create a patio for residents, but also to allow for rainwater and whatnot to filter back naturally into the ecosystem. We also have a number of planters that would be serving as a buffer. And we also are proposing a possible 6-foot wood fence along the perimeter as well. We're always open to suggestions on the landscape, but this is what we're currently proposing. Again, the previous addition went almost out to where the pervious patio pavers writing is. So just to kind of signify the reduction in the addition. Next slide, please. Very quickly, so the first floor would contain unit 1, first floor would be unit 1 at just 1,120 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You can see at the top of the screen there, you'll see it on every floor, is the proposed stairwell as well as the additional bath. And again, that's really what's making up the difference in the addition. All the other square footage is essentially existing. Next slide. 3rd and 4th floor, again, a similar floor plate. We're looking at 3 bedroom, 2 baths units between 1,050 and 1,075. And again, not to belabor the point, but at the top of the screen, again, that addition carries up, allowing for the second means of egress. Next slide. And again, the roof deck has been removed. So these are the elevations. On the left side, you're seeing the front elevation. Again, not a whole lot changing here, except we're cleaning up some of the existing materials. 2 minutes, I'm on it. Yep. Thank you, Margaret. And then the right elevation, you can just see on the far right side there, the proposed addition, again, fairly nominal, just allowing for an interior staircase. Next slide, please. Again, looking at essentially the same thing from the left side, and then the rear just shows where that second means of egress exits into the backyard, so all residents would have use to the yard. Next slide. This is just a 3D comparison of existing versus proposed. So again, not a whole lot in terms of height or anything changing, just some more design features we're looking to implement with this renovation. Next slide. This is a previous comparison. So on the left, you can see that stairwell and deck that's currently existing. And on the right, that's what we previously proposed, how far it went back. And if we can jump to the next slide, you'll see the current. So you can see how much we did reduce there, by over 2/3. And again, that's just for life and safety and L-ing off the building to square it off. Next slide. This was the previous rendering. Again, we had a little bump out. We still had a backyard, but it was a smaller yard. And next slide will show our current rendering. Oh. All right, it's not there, but okay, that concludes the presentation. We'll happily take any questions or comments, and thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read the list of abutters. If you are on this list and would like to speak, please raise your hand and I will call on you to unmute. Corey Green, Anna Marbin Lorenzo, Stephanie Bruno, Sally Higgins, Kim Carvalho, Douglas Salmon, Kathy Schindeldecker, Ian Shields, Beth Harrison, Marie Pepe Long, Ann Belmonte, Josh Lown, Michelle McCann, Alexander Von Greichen, Nancy Kelly, Joshua Schmidt, and Natalia Gutierrez. So if anyone would like to give comments, please raise your hand. While waiting for people to raise their hands, I am going, oh, we have one. Corey, go ahead.
Thank you. Matt, the renderings look really nice. Just curious if you're going to share floor plans for what a 3-unit would look like, which it is right now. I understand that it's 4 stories, but the bottom, as we talked last time, was zoned commercial. So if we're adding a unit, is there any plans to do anything with parking, or are you able to share what it would look like with just 3 units?
So with just 3 units, it would look essentially the same. The lower level has been used for commercial in the past. Technically, it is a 3-family. So it would look the same with the 3-family. We'd probably try to go into the lower level and make a duplex unit, but it would relatively look the same from the exterior. We would love to add parking here, but the only way to do that would be to raise the building and put parking in it like the ground level. It's an existing building, so there's just no way to get parking in. We're landlocked in the back, and there's no way from the front. So we wish we could, believe me, but it's where we're just adding 1 unit. We're required 1 space, and we just can't meet that.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to the chat unless anyone else wants to raise their hands and speak. Okay, so 1 or 2 of the tallest and oldest trees in the neighborhood appear to be in the backyard of 516 Sumner. Will these remain or be cut down for the rear addition?
I don't know off the top of my head exactly. The addition is very nominal, and again, we're not going back further than the porch there now, than the deck. So I cannot imagine we'd be taking any trees down because that deck already takes up that space, and we're actually bringing the building in for the footprint. So Adam, I see you unmuted. I don't know if you can further follow up on that, but
yeah, that's a good point. We didn't take that into account actually with our landscape plan, but the big fir tree behind the building should be able to remain if that's the tree you're talking about.
Yeah, old trees are a very sensitive issue because a lot of them are being taken down for construction, and unfortunately a lot of the new trees that are planted don't survive.
Yeah, the BPDA wouldn't let us take this tree down anyway because it has more than a 3-inch diameter trunk.
Okay.
Resident said, glad to see the addition reduced, as came up from a few folks on the last P&Z meeting. There was also a request for a shadow study. This is true. In the last meeting to understand the impact of the rear addition, but I don't see it in this presentation.
Yeah, we provided, Rachel, it should have been at the end. It's a 12-page shadow study that was the second whole half. I think the whole presentation should have been about 35 pages long.
Yeah, we're not going through that. We don't have
Yeah,
time.
I can tell you, I mean, obviously, we can send it along again and it can be posted if you'd like. It should have been in that presentation. I can tell you, it's very minimal. Anywhere that additional shadowing is kind of where there already was shadow and just going a few feet beyond, but no one who has like no shadows now are there being shadows created. So Rachel, if you'd like to follow up with me, I can certainly re-forward that to you, but it should have been at the end of the presentation provided.
Yeah, Susan, can you confirm that it wasn't in there?
It's in the presentation.
It is in the presentation.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, so that presentation it is posted on our website under the agenda for the person asking for that. But you can take a look at that. Another question, why can't the first floor remain commercial?
You know, we did hear that at the last meeting and we looked at it. You know, Michael really does more rental than commercial. And we just felt that it was a better use for a residential rental unit. It's not the best, you know, it has a history of commercial, but it really hasn't been used commercial. So it's not like it's retrofitted and it's all ready to go. It's a project in and of itself. And we just thought the residential was a better use.
That is currently all I have, Margaret.
That is excellent. Okay, because it is 8:29 and we can start to wrap things up. Thank you for this presentation. We appreciate it. Again, this was a review of 516 Sumner Street. There will be a vote on this particular project. If you are eligible to vote, you will receive an email with a voting link no later than Wednesday, September 14th at 7 p.m. You may enter your vote at any time before Friday, September 16th at 7 p.m. No late votes will be accepted. So your vote will be, you will receive your vote and you will have 48 hours to submit your vote. As a reminder, if you believe that you are eligible to receive a ballot and you do not receive one, the first thing you should do is check your spam folder. We get between 2 and 10 emails every month saying I didn't get my ballot, and that people find it in their spam folder. So please do check. A reminder that the P&Z planning meeting for this particular month is scheduled for September 21st. The agenda will be released by this Wednesday. A reminder that planning and zoning meetings are where we get into the nitty-gritty of every single development. It's where the negotiation aspect happens with the developer. Although meetings are geared towards abutters do receive flyers and additional reminders that the meeting is going on. All planning and zoning meetings are open to the entire public, and we do encourage you to attend. This is the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association, and this is our September meeting. Just a quick reminder that we do have 2 events coming up this month. I know we announced them earlier, but it's been a long meeting, so I'm just going to say on the 24th of this month, we will be doing Love Your Block, a neighborhood cleanup run by Josh that we will be meeting at Brophy Park at 9 a.m. And then on Sunday, we will have the Great Swap, where you can put free items out in front of your house, but not block the sidewalk. And hopefully people will come and take them away for you. As always, we are the Jeffreys Point Neighborhood Association. We are happy to be of service to you. If you have questions, we encourage you to email us at board@jeffreyspoint.org. The minutes for this particular meeting, along with the recording, along with past history of all of our meetings, is available on our website at www.jeffreyspoint.org. Thank you so much for joining this evening, and I will declare this meeting ended at 8:32 p.m. Have a good night.
Thanks again, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.